Hello, everyone out there in the world. Welcome to episode 1 of the Bharat Army podcast. We are doing a video podcast and trying to open the discussion up to all of you Bharat Army fans all around the world. Everyone's kind of at home at the moment with the current situation in the world today, but we are still bringing you Indian cricket news from around the world. So today, episode 1, we are going to be deep into discussion. What are we discussing today? On episode 1, it is a very heated topic amongst the Bharat Army faithful. It is, should Ms Dhoni be selected for the T20 World Cup that is later on this year? Now, on the podcast today, we have two teams, for and against, who are going to be debating this topic. So in the for corner, our first person we have up is Rishi from Ranchi. How you doing, Rishi?
Good. How are you, Ashish?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great down here. So this is going to be a particularly emotional topic from you, being from Ranchi, talking about your hometown hero, Ms Dhoni.
Absolutely. I think we all know that he's towards the end of his playing career for India. And I think this might be the last World Cup that he might end up playing. So really looking forward to having him in the team.
Okay, cool. And on our other end of our for argument, we have live from his garden in Hounslow, we've got Amish.
How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, all good. Thank you for joining us. I'm loving your pink ensemble, I've got to say. Really.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I love the pink too.
And we then have our two rogues in the other corner who are against the idea of Dhoni being at the T20 World Cup. Joining us all the way from Mumbai, we have Shomi. How you doing, Shomi?
Hi, I'm good. How about you?
Oh, as good as you can be, And in our other corner from London, one of the original members of the Bharat Army podcast from back in the day, we've got Akshay Lumba. How you doing, mate?
All good. Just want to make one quick point. Rishi said he's looking forward to seeing Ms Dhoni in his final World Cup. This is the third time Rishi has said that. I've known him for a number of years, and every World Cup, Rishi says, I can't wait to see Dhoni in his last World Cup.
And he's been right so far.
Well. Calm down, everyone. Calm down. All right. Each in your corners. I'm going to be like a referee here, trying to get everyone in their corners. So before we get into deep discussion, let's go through a little bit of what Dhoni has actually achieved at the T20 World Cup. Now, amazingly, this is going to be in 2020 the first World Cup that India has ever known where Ms Dhoni has not been captain. Of course, when he was first captain in 2007, it was the first ever T20 World Cup. So actually, this is new territory for everybody involved here. India has never known a T20 World Cup without Dhoni as captain. Within that time, of course, India won the first T20 World Cup in 2007. Who could ever forget that? They got to the final of the 2014 T20 World Cup, which they lost to Sri Lanka. And, in and amongst that time, it's, I think, fair to say that the T20 World Cup isn't really India's forte. We've not actually done as well at this tournament that I think that, all of our fans would like us to have done. So let's concentrate on Dhoni's batting for a minute and go through his stats. We're looking only at T20 internationals at this point because IPL records are a completely different thing at this point. So T20 internationals, he's played 85 innings. He scored 1,617 runs. His highest score is 57 and his average is 37.6. Now, is that a good enough record for him to come back into the team? Who knows? The most important thing, T20 World Cup, I would say, is his strike rate. Anybody want to have a guess at what his strike rate is?
It should be in the last few years. It's more than, it's around 150.
I think somewhere around 135, 140, between that.
Strike rate completely irrelevant because that strike rate was when Dhoni was younger. This is now.
Lumba, you're losing credibility, mate. You're losing credibility. Stop. Continue with what you're saying, buddy.
Well, his strike rate is 126. Fantastic. So not quite as high as some people might think. However, is that down to his game maturing like a fine wine, or is it down to the fact that he no longer has it? So let's kind of open up the discussion. First, I want to hear from Rishi and Amish. Dhoni at his age, you've obviously mentioned that this is going to be his last World Cup. Now, we have been saying that for quite a while, that this might be his last World Cup, but at his age, should he really still be in this team?
So Ashish, like Akshay said, that I've been making this statement for the last 3 World Cup. Before the 2019 Cricket World Cup, I did think that 50-50 World Cup would be the last that MS Dhoni is going to play. But given the situation that the Indian cricket team hasn't found a suitable replacement wicketkeeper for MS at the moment, I think he fits perfectly into the team going forward. And especially with his record in T20 internationals, I think we shouldn't be just looking at the strike rate, given the fact that he comes lower down the order. For me, I think it's the average and the strike rate. If it adds up to anything over 150, 155, I think that's a very good combination going forward in T20 World Cup or T20 games.
Yep, agree with that. And yep. Sorry, go on, after you.
No. I was just going to say, Amish, what have you got to add to that?
So just to add, following what Rishi said, I don't think it should just be about age, right? We're not preparing for the World Cup now. The World Cup's come, and it's the time for us to get ready and put it in action. It's not a time for us to prepare long term. So age is not a topic of discussion anymore. And in regards to, it's not about should Dhoni be in? It's about what does the team need? Does Dhoni fit the criteria or tick the boxes for the team? And I think he does. I think he still brings a lot to the team, which no one else can provide as good enough alternatives for. And therefore, yeah, I think he would be in.
Akshay, I can see you squirming in your chair. You're squirming so much. What is going on with these Dhoni worshipping people down here with his age? Talk to me. What do you think?
Listen, I know I'm going to get a whole load of abuse from all the Dhoni lovers around the world that are going to be watching this. But my statement is simply that it's not that he shouldn't play, it's that he cannot play, because the last time he played an international fixture, or in fact any fixture, domestic or international, was the semi-final loss against New Zealand in the World Cup. He has opted out against playing in I think it's 5 or 6 T20 series that we've had, and all the ODI series as well. He's chosen not to play that. He was hoping to play in the IPL. If he had a good IPL, then maybe play in the T20 World Cup. The IPL hasn't happened, and it probably won't happen, in my opinion. So how can you pick a man that hasn't played any cricket in almost a year? You know, by the time the T20 World Cup comes around, it's impossible. You cannot pick someone that hasn't played cricket at all.
But Akshay, like Dhoni, he's like the Undertaker. You only bring him out for WrestleMania, and you leave him out for like the rest of the year. Show me, what do you think about Dhoni's age, and he still cut it?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's not about the age, but as Akshay mentioned, that he has not played cricket for quite some time, and is it really fair that you have these guys toiling all over, and then you bring in somebody who has been an icon, and just for the sake that he has been an icon and you show that kind of a trust on him, you just ignore these guys who has been playing for you. And I mean, just look at these last 5 or 6 T20 series that India has played without Dhoni. They have been pretty good. I mean, I think we have had a couple of abroad series which we have won. We have just had one draw. The rest of it we have won. And so, yeah, I mean, the team is getting prepared. And it's good to keep on that momentum. The team is pretty set, and it's not great just to kind of, break up that momentum just for getting the love of our lives. We all love Dhoni, but is it fair to those people is the question.
But show me, Akshay. This is my concern about Dhoni's place in the team. Is that yes, we talk about his batting and we talk about the fact that he's not played for a certain amount of time and all of that type of thing, but is his real value in the team not just his presence in like there on the field, in the dressing room? Like Virat Kohli has always got him to go to if he says, I'm losing control of the situation, what should I do with his experience? You can't replace that, surely.
I agree. However, Virat Kohli's now been captain of India in all formats for a long time now. He's no longer a kid that doesn't know what he's doing. There has to come a point when you've got to stand on your own 2 feet and make decisions yourself without relying on your older brother to help you out. And this is a perfect time. And T20 is a World Cup where you sort of can take risks is, you generally, you take more experiments in T20 World Cups rather than the 50 over World Cups. And there has to come a time in every squad, in every team where you just move on. There's a wealth of experience in the India team without Dhoni. Kohli's there, Rohit Sharma's there, Shikhar Dhawan will be there, Jadeja's there. These are all guys in their 30s, so there's enough experience to keep relying on Dhoni.
Okay, well, let's talk about this for a minute. So we've spoken about, whether he should be in the team or he shouldn't be. But if you're not going to have him in the team, you need to have somebody in there who is going to be able to fill that void, not just with the bat, but also wicket-keeping wise. Now, obviously, the first name which is going to come into a lot of people's heads is Rishabh Pant in that position, who comes lower down the order. Now, I would not trust Rishabh Pant to babysit my children. So why is it that, he should be in the team, or even possibly KL Rahul? I'm not sure how reliable KL Rahul is with the gloves these days. But, either of them to come up against the legend that is MS Dhoni, who would you have in his place?
Yes. For me, I think, yes, I'm pretty confident about KL Rahul, especially the kind of purple patch that he's carrying around. So that can be something that India can really, really capitalize on. And yes, I mean, both these guys have shared the space in between. Today, probably we are again talking about a third option of Sanju Samson, rather than, looking back at Dhoni and trying to really make him fit into the team when the team is already quite balanced. So yeah, I mean, for me, first choice would be KL Rahul because of the form that he's currently showing.
And for me, just Rishabh Pant has the X factor. We all saw it in the IPL a couple of years ago when he was the top run scorer. Since then, he's been sort of hit and miss. I completely agree, but he does have an X factor, and the role that he'll be playing in the Indian team, batting lower middle order, will be the finisher role, and it will be looking purely at that strike rate and trying to get the ball over the line. And the best T20 teams around the world have power hitters in that sort of 5, 6, 7 positions. And sadly, Dhoni isn't a power hitter anymore. And the role that's required of him in a T20 fixture, Pant, I believe, will do a lot better than MS Dhoni in that finisher sort of role.
Guys,
Okay,
guys,
so,
can I jump in? Go on, Rishi. Go on, mate. I'm loving
Ashish,
it. So
actually brought up the IPL factor and Rishabh Pant in. So I don't know if you guys are aware. I think Dhoni has scored 13% of his total IPL runs in the last over of a game. That's I think 22% of his runs have come in the last over. 13% of the total sixes that he scored has come in the last over. The strike rate for MS Dhoni in the last 5 overs has been the highest as compared to any other player in the IPL history. Now, a lot of people have said that KL Rahul has been in the form of his life. He's doing well behind the stumps as well. Let's not forget the last T20 or the last international fixture that we had was long back. We don't know when we'll have another T20 or an ODI game. We don't know whether the IPL will go ahead or not. We can't guarantee whether KL Rahul will carry that form going into the World Cup if he's selected ahead of MS Dhoni. So, given the experience that Dhoni has, Rishabh Pant hasn't lived up to his expectation in the 2019 World Cup, even though he's had a few good knocks here and there in Australia and England. But, the trust that the Indian management had shown in Pant, I think he hasn't lived up to the expectation going forward. So I genuinely feel that, Dhoni has an edge, has a better hand over Pant and KL Rahul at this point of time.
guys, just to add to all these points, sure, one by one, I'm just going to bat them away, right? So not a case of Dhoni is a legend, let's pick him. No one is saying that. No one is saying let's take away the guys who've been playing for a period of time, because if you haven't stepped up to the mark, then unfortunately it's not a case that you've been playing, therefore you deserve to play. It's about who is the best fit for the team. And if you look, number 5, 6, 7 in the last few series, we haven't had someone who stood up and taken that level of ownership. Now, Dhoni is a team player, right? He is not going to put himself above his country. If he thinks he's not good enough to play, then he will walk away. He's not going to step on someone else's toes at his expense. He's been there. He's won everything there is in the game. He doesn't need this additional World Cup. He'll be there for the team if we need. Now, Akshay, you mentioned that 2020 is a game of taking risks. Now, it is a game of taking risks, but calculated risks. Now, if you need any player in the world to come up with taking calculated risks. I'm pretty sure you ask every captain across the world, they will say they'll pick Dhoni. Dhoni is the one who's going to support Kohli in making those decisions about planning the bowling lineup, managing which bowler to attack, etc., etc., sorting the field up. Those things in a test match, less so. It's more about calculated risk. But 2020 is short enough. It's a short enough format for you to measure and plan around. In regards to KL Rahul coming in, KL Rahul, God bless him, he's done absolutely fantastic. He stepped up when he needed to, and you could argue he solved a big problem for India. However, what I will say is he's been the keeper batsman in a few small series. For us to ask him to have that responsibility in the World Cup, I'm not saying we can't do it. I'm just saying it's a very big risk. Now, do you want to take that risk and compromise his batting when after the top three, assuming it's KL, Rohit, VK, there's not that much experience left? Do you really want to compromise on his batting? Yes, he's done well, but purple patches don't last forever. I hope it does. But if this is not a small series against a fellow middle country or etc., etc., this is a World Cup. We can't. It's not a time to take risks in terms of selection. India's biggest problem after the ODI World Cup was who was our number 4. After the World Cup, how many Bharat Army members were talking about who should come in at 4? We should have had that certainty or etc. So we don't want to look back after this 2020 World Cup and be like, oh, our keeper, we didn't have a specialist keeper, etc., etc. We want to have someone we can rely on. And yeah, if appreciate that IPL may not go ahead, but if Dhoni feels he's not good enough to play, he will walk away. If he makes himself available, the fact that no one else has stood up and said, yes, they'll take this baton on, it has to go to Dhoni. And even if it was KL, you still need a reserve keeper. Now, are you going to have Pant as a reserve keeper, or who's going to be in the dressing room, or are you going to have Dhoni, a figure who's going to be a positive influence, not just for Kohli, but for the younger players in the team? Remember, it's an inexperienced squad. He's going to add a lot of value to the dressing room.
Listen, if your argument is always about Dhoni in the dressing room and the experience, you might as well bring Sourav Ganguly back as well. Get him in the
fantastic point, Lumba, which is why let me.
I think I would agree with Amish. We all know, Akshay, you were sitting right behind me at the semi-final India-New Zealand. We both know how conflict in India was. How Dhoni managed to in this, if India is 20 for 4 in the first 6 overs in a crunch game in the World Cup, would you rather have Rishabh Pant coming in, or would you have Dhoni coming in and steady the ship?
And take it towards the end? Exactly, because you've given me a scenario where Dhoni's come in, where the team are in trouble. So his game now is suited to get the 1s and 2s, the odd boundary. That's not why you pick a number 6 or 7. It's to finish. It's to clear the boundary. And Australia have big boundaries as well. And a big hit like Rishabh Pant, I would prefer to have in the team. You can't, for a T20 World Cup, I don't think you plan to be in a situation where you're 30 for 3. You plan to be in a situation where you're 150 for 5 and you've got last 2 overs, you need to get to 190. That's what you plan for in T20. And I just think now's the time we need to build for the future. Amish said, this isn't the time to take risks. It absolutely is the time to take risks. We have to build for the future. These youngsters have been working hard. Sanju Samson played a couple of T20s recently. Rishabh Pant before that was in the side. None of them have nailed down a place. I think we can all agree with that. However, you need a big tournament to really give someone an opportunity to say, yes, I am now India's wicketkeeper batsman. You can't just give people a couple series here and there. If they fail, get rid of them, let's bring the old guard back in. You have to stick with them, give them a big tournament, and give them a chance to prove on the big scale.
And what if they fail on the big stage? I mean, do you go back to MS Dhoni and continue till 2021 Cricket World Cup? No, I don't think so. That would be an option, a good option going forward. So, experience, you can always talk about bringing in a reserve keeper like Pant in the team, along with Dhoni and KL Rahul. Pant can be brought into the team, just the way we did in the Cricket World Cup. I think KL, Pant, DK and Dhoni were all in the playing 11. A scenario like that can be played out, but then leaving the wicket-keeping skills, the finisher role only on Rishabh Pant would be asking too much for him in a pressure situation. And we've seen how he did well in the 2019 World Cup.
Yeah, but how are we going to find the next MS Dhoni if we don't allow someone to become the next MS Dhoni?
But we don't find them in the World Cup. We find them before the World Cup, for the World Cup. We don't say, oh, we'll give someone a chance in the World Cup. The World Cup is a time where we go out there with our guys who can do it, not, oh, let's give them a chance, maybe they can do it.
You know, we have a young team today. Yes, there is a good there is a good experienced part of it, but then there is somebody, a few people who are still about to get that kind of an experience. But if you're talking about grooming, you have to let them go into these kind of extreme pressure situations, very high pressure games, and learn from that. And if you don't give them that exposure of a World Cup, of a situation like that, they will never be able to become another MS Dhoni. And we will always be having this discussion, even like another 2 years down the line, that whether we should be having a Dhoni or whether, like, how we will be managing the situation. So today we have that opportunity where we have groomed a young team for quite some time, and it's good for them to go and just explore themselves out. Win or loss is always a part of the game. And so yeah, I mean, it's good to groom the young talent, and that is probably where the Indian team has always come into the picture from a very long time. If you look into the transition from a Sachin, Dravid, Saurav era to a Dhoni, Virat era, there has been this kind of a transition where the young talents have been given an opportunity, and they have been just let. I mean, they've explored it, and probably that is the reason why we have a strong team today, and our bench looks so strong. So it's always good to groom the right talents, giving them the very high pressure and the right platforms. Like
so guys, if I could just interject back in for a minute here, because you know I'm kind of like the judge listening to all of this stuff at the moment, and I've got the jury kind of, you know, telling me what's going on. There's one fear I have with Dhoni, and you know, I hate to bring it up again, but that 2019 World Cup, that semi-final, the chase against New Zealand, the chase that broke all of our hearts. I compared Dhoni in my head a little bit to Jose Mourinho. Now, wait with me a little bit here. What I kind of think is, at one point, Mourinho was, you know, this genius manager who nobody could, you know, quite figure out, and won all of these trophies. But now I feel like he's been found out a little bit, and people have kind of, you know, got accustomed to his tactics a little bit. Now, when it comes to chasing, we all know what Dhoni's tactic is, and you will find yourself in this situation in the T20 World Cup, where he takes the chase deep. He creates this kind of formula where it's him versus the fifth bowler, taking the fifth bowler on at the last over. In the IPL, that is basically Chennai Super Kings like tactic. Now, what happens when that tactic gets found out? Because I feel like Dhoni has been getting found out with that tactic a little more. So, you know, is he still got the capabilities of actually, you know, turning teams over like he did then? Or has his whole tactic, his whole game when it comes to batting actually been found out? Or do we need to just change things up now?
That is precisely what we won't know without a game. And without that IPL, it's really very, very dicey for us to have that belief that, yes, you know, everything is safe, and everything about Dhoni is as great as it was a few years back, and to move into the World Cup with that kind of a stride. So yeah, if that's not there, then why not give the newer generation a better chance, a better platform, and move ahead with it with more confidence?
Yeah, and I actually think in that World Cup semi-final, he played the innings perfectly, in my opinion. But in the T20, the strike rates, the way he bats at the moment, will put pressure on everyone else. And if I'm playing in Australia, if it was in India, it might be different. But in Australia, where you've got quick, bouncy pitches, and you've got guys like Jofra Archer steaming in, bowling a bouncer at a 39-year-old MS Dhoni, he'll be 39 by the time the tournament happens in Australia. Would I back MS Dhoni to see that ball perfectly, or someone 10, 15 years younger to see it margin of a second quicker and put the ball over the boundary? And age just come into play. At 39 years old, playing away in Australia with all that pressure.
I'm still the fittest amongst everyone in the Indian cricket team.
100%. I'm sure he gave everyone a good race.
It's
about the eyes. It's about the eyes. You can't train the eyes.
That's where it comes down to. If Dhoni
all know how he performed in the last two IPL, 2019 and 2018 season, probably the best IPL season that he had in the 11 years that he's played. The highest score coming in 2018 against Bangalore. And the way he was finishing games, about 85% of the games that he took to the last over, 85% games were finished, and Chennai ended up on the winning side with the game that he took to the last over. So when it comes to the age factor, I think we can play that factor out at the moment, and with his fitness and everything, probably the fittest amongst everyone in the Indian cricket team going forward.
Guys, just for my 2 pence, right? Now, if Dhoni feels he is not good enough because of age or whatever reason, he will make that call. He's not going to put himself above. Let me just emphasize that again. Now, Ashish, you mentioned the World Cup semi-final, yeah? Let me ask you guys a question. When Pant and Pandya were in, with all due respect to them, I think they both had a brilliant tournament. Did you believe India could win? Did you believe India could win?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Now, when Dhoni and Jadeja were in, did you believe we could win?
Yes, but that's because Jadeja's Gujarati.
Correct, and that's where it comes to. That's where it comes down to the partnership, right? It comes down to the partnership. Now, you saw how Pant. You do need experience. Pant and Pandya, they both threw their wicket away in the World Cup semi-final. Now that's where everyone was talking about how Dhoni should have come in between and etc. etc. And that level of experience, that calm, composed approach. And I still think he's got that belief. He was run out in the World Cup. Remember, he was run out. This was a very Dhoni doesn't get run out in his career. He's I'd back him to be in the top 3 fastest in the Indian cricket team / across many countries, right? Now, several of your points have been about, is he good enough? Now, we haven't even spoke about his stats, guys. Let me drop a few points. In IPL, right? Dhoni's average is, this is last IPL, his average is 83. Pant as an alternative, 37. His strike rate is 134, appreciate that. And Pant is 162, fair point, absolutely. Now, if I think about 2020s overall, Dhoni's average is 37.6, bearing in mind he's a lower order batsman. For him to have an average as good as that, fair play. Pant's average, he's at 25 games, his average is 20. You guys talk about fantastic strike rates. Dhoni's strike rate 126, Pant's strike rate 120. Now, you guys, hold on. Actually, give me one moment. Actually, give me one moment. Now, you talk about Dhoni's age. Now, I don't know, you at the start of the podcast, you mentioned something about Dhoni is not the same player he was, right? Now, you look at his strike rates in his 2020 career. They've improved as he's gone older. I don't know which Dhoni you're talking about, but his strike rates from 2016, 150, just under 140, 155. And I appreciate, 2019, he had a lower strike rate of 116. However, those match situations he came in, he did a job for India. It's not about the strike rate because.
And what, India played just 5 games in 2019? Is that correct?
Correct. And each game, it's not. You shouldn't talk about strike rate. Stats are meaningless without context, right? So against New Zealand, first time he came in 64 for 3. India led to 77 for 6. Dhoni took us to 139. Don't forget that. Next game, he got 20. No. Next game, he got 20 not out. We won the game chasing 162. Next game, he didn't have a fantastic game, fair enough. Against Australia, he came in 80 for 3. India finished on 126 all out. What did he get? 29. The next game, he got 40 of 23 balls. So you have to put the context in, and the strike rate point in his last year doesn't really come into it because he won India games and he did well.
No one's saying.
You've been hit with the stats. You've been hit with the stats.
Listen,
How do you argue that?
Amongst all of this, India won a series, whitewashed New Zealand in the last one without Dhoni.
Correct.
So we are talking about we completely appreciate these the numbers that Dhoni has made over the years, but we are talking about a Dhoni who hasn't played international cricket in 1.5 years, whereas the rest of the team has been continuously out there. So
no one put their hand up. No one put their hand up.
Listen, I don't agree with this pick and choose policy. You're either in or you're out. Can I just make one point here? So experiments are already happening within the Indian team management. Look at the bowlers. They're trying guys like Rahul Chahar, Washington Sundar, seam bowlers. It's not the traditional seam bowlers you pick. The combo of Bhuvi, Shami, Bumrah. You've got guys like Deepak Chahar, Saini, Shardul Thakur, all these guys. Everyone is experimenting with new bowlers, new faces to build for the future. Why are we not experimenting with the wicketkeeper for the T20?
We have Samson, Pant.
played, Samson's played, KL Rahul's played. The message from the management is that they are experimenting with the wicket keepers for the T20 World Cup. But MS Dhoni, by not retiring, he's making it really harsh on the selectors to make a decision about him. I think it's choosing when he wants to play. If you didn't go to work for a few months and then decided to come back for the award ceremony and the big presentation that you've got, it shouldn't be allowed. You can't just pick and choose when you work.
If you want Dhoni to drop you a text when he's available or not.
The thing over here is that the Indian management has made it very clear that till the IPL they had a rotation policy where they will be giving youngsters some experience. What actually has happened is that because of this coronavirus thing, the IPL has been pushed back. Till the IPL, the plan was to give the youngsters a go ahead and then see how MS Dhoni flared in the IPL. Now, what that situation has done is, with no international cricket to the build-up of the 2020 Cricket World Cup, we don't know whether, Pant or KL Rahul will be ready for that position, will be able to handle that situation. Assuming KL Rahul is brought into the team as a specialist, wicket-keeper and a batsman, he'll probably open the innings. 20 overs of wicket-keeping, we don't know whether he's a full-time wicket-keeper or not. And then to take India home, I think that's too much to ask for KL Rahul, given the fact that, he's been in and out of the team, and only in the last few months that he's been in the team thanks to injuries to Shikhar Dhawan and other players. So, and with Pant, we've all known that, he's not played that proper competitive international cricket for a long period. So we need to make sure that, players are mentally that prepared to go into that big tournament and justify their spot.
So let me ask you guys all something. Let me try to bring this all back for a moment and ask you guys something. Has anyone in this debate changed their mind at all about whether Dhoni should or shouldn't be in the team?
No. To an extent, well, what I've changed my opinion on is, before I would have said Dhoni gets in, but now the IPL may not go ahead. I think it has to be, if Dhoni feels he's not ready, then fair enough. Because I appreciate he hasn't had match practice, etc., but Dhoni knows if he's good.
Everyone always thinks they're better than they are in everything in life. People, the selectors make the decision, not a player. With all due respect.
You know what? A fair play. And Lumba, your point earlier was Dhoni can't pick and choose when he plays, etc. Now he's not going to drop you a text message or a WhatsApp saying, "Chal, Lumba, I'm not going to play," or "I am going to play." The people who need to know. The people who need to know. They know the situation.
Yeah, exactly, they know.
We don't need to speculate. We don't need to speculate, and we're fans. We're not privy to that information. Those that need to make a decision will. And Ravi Shastri recently said that they were also going to wait until how Dhoni performs in IPL. Once again, if he doesn't feel like he's got it and he has a bad IPL, absolutely fair play. Then don't pick him. But even if you don't pick him, it's not a case where you've got someone ready lined up. You guys are saying you have to give people a chance or let them give them an opportunity to step up. You don't do that at the World Cup. You give them a period before that so they're ready to play in the World Cup. You don't say where we think you'll be okay or whatever. They've had 12 months, 18 months, whatever beforehand. It should be 4 years in theory, but with the number of games that are being played from an ICC level, let's say even a year. These guys have had a year, and unfortunately, no one stepped up. So, fine, fair enough. If you don't want Dhoni, tell me what's the lineup.
Sanju Samson has only had 4 T20 fixtures. Is that enough a chance to say, actually, no, we'll bring back the old guard? It's not enough of a chance.
Absolutely not. And is that enough for him to say, Chal, let's pick him as our keeper for the World Cup?
Well, no, it isn't.
Absolutely. So who would you pick then?
A chance. And if he isn't, if you stuck with Bunt for so long, keep Bunt. Give it.
Lomba, how many times have you been so frustrated with how Bunt has thrown his wicket away? You've been more frustrated than most individuals, and now you're saying, "Chal, I want Bunt in the team."
Well, it's certainly not about
remember his has been always anti-Pant getting into the team.
That's in the team and the one day.
Dhoni versus Pant.
2019 World Cup as well. He was anti-Pant, and I don't.
Now, come on, guys. This isn't a personal slogging match here. It's not a personal slogging match. This one. Shormy, go on. You make your point.
Yeah, I think it's not a Dhoni versus Pant, but
Correct.
India has been doing pretty well even without Dhoni, and there has been a winning streak. Why to disturb that? I mean, we do not really have a very, very strong reason to say that, yes, India has been collapsing without Dhoni and we have
Right.
not really performed that well. So, yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no factual reason for us to relook at that.
So I think
No,
it's pretty fair to say that, largely we're all still pretty divided on this subject. And I think that, the discussion's still probably going to go on right until the World Cup actually starts. And I guess we'll have to just wait and see whether he does get selected. But one thing I think that none of us are going to be divided on is our love for the man, quite purely. Our love for MS Dhoni, arguably, I would say, the biggest legend in the history of Indian cricket, considering everything that he achieved as a captain, everything that the team achieved, with all due respect to Sachin Tendulkar and everything, I would put Dhoni on that number one mantle as the biggest legend in Indian cricket. So I wanted to just, kind of bring us all together again with love in our hearts and kind of talk about, our memories of Dhoni and everything that he's kind of achieved over the years. And Rishi, I wanted to start with you in particular, obviously being from Ranchi. I just wanted to hear a little bit from you about exactly what MS Dhoni means to you, not just as a cricket fan, but as somebody from Ranchi.
Ashish, I think when MS Dhoni made his debut and got out on the first ball against Bangladesh, I think that was a moment that we've all waited from, as a resident of Ranchi, that someone represent a city at the international level. And ever since then, there's no looking back, be it 2007 T20 World Cup or the famous tri-series win in Australia, the 2011 World Cup, taking India to the #1 spot in Test ranking. I think one captain who's achieved everything that an captain can think of, I think taking Indian cricket to the next height, something that Ganguly couldn't do, something that Tendulkar had waited for all his life to win a Cricket World Cup. I think Dhoni's made everything come true. For me, I think I've been a big worship fan of Sachin Tendulkar, and after that, it's always been MS Dhoni. Everything that a cricket fan can dream of, he's made that come true. So, as a cricket fan, as someone from Ranchi, I really wish that he makes it to the 15 and then playing 11 and probably live the World Cup at the MCG on 15th of September. Yeah.
Abish, let's hear your thoughts.
Oh man, where do I start, man? Where do I start? Everything from this conversation has still been factual. I haven't even got my emotions into it yet. If I talk about emotions, it's a different level, because what Dhoni has done for our country is if it's my decision based on my criteria, Dhoni can do whatever he wants. If he wants to play till he's 70, he can play till he's 70. Yeah, but that's just my heart and craziness talking. But he's like Rishi said, he's taken us to all heights. He's won everything for us. He's not attended the birth of his daughter because he's on national duty. Like Tendulkar said, he's the best captain he's ever played for. Guys, it's not even about Dhoni as a cricketer. It's about him as a person. The presence he does, like you made a point earlier, it's about the presence he brings. I don't think anyone can fill the shoes that he brings in terms of a presence as a person, as an influence, as a character in the dressing room. Yeah.
Akshay, how many amazing memories have we had watching India in the stands whenever they've toured England and toured all around the world and stuff? And MS Dhoni's been a massive part of that.
Of course, unbelievable. It's MS Dhoni's the reason that's given us so much joy, why we still go to watch cricket all the time, because of these magical moments. And one memory I've got is sort of, I think quite a few of you guys were there. Rishi, you were certainly there in 2016 when we went to the T20 World Cup in India. If you remember the match against Bangladesh in Bangalore, when if we lost that game, we were out of the
Almost there.
And we were going to lose. There's no way we're winning this game. And then suddenly, MS Dhoni throws the ball to Hardik Pandya for the last over, and gets those 2 wickets at the end to win us the match. And everyone goes absolutely mental. And I could not believe what I was watching at that time. Why is he bowling Hardik Pandya? Why is Hardik Pandya bowling short? And he gets absolutely clarted. But there's a man on the boundary, and we live to fight another day.
And Ashish, to add to that moment, that memory of Akshay, 2013 Champions Trophy final, throwing the ball to Ishant Sharma. Yeah. I was there in Baston.
Yeah.
8 hours of waiting with no cricket, don't know whether that game will go ahead or not. That moment of him giving the ball to Ishant Sharma, and we don't know whether that will pay off or not. Ishant getting 2 wickets in 2 balls. absolutely carnage. I mean, never had that crazy moment, something like that. Never witnessed something like that.
And finally, Shomi, I can actually see MS Dhoni on your wall behind you as a poster you put up in your bedroom.
Yes,
Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, if you, I like, if you ask me for like, I would want Dhoni to come back to India colors for the fact that, you know, I don't want to remember the last of MS Dhoni, like just walking out of that stadium with the tears in his eyes. That's shouldn't be my last memory of MS Dhoni, and probably that's the reason for why I want him to be back on this in the side. But yeah, I mean, factually things don't match. Factually emotions don't match, and that's where we are all divided. And yeah, coming to the memories of MS Dhoni, I always thank that man for giving me that experience of a World Cup win. I wouldn't have never known in my lifetime what I have heard from my father, from my like my uncles, what World Cup win really means. So that's something that I thank that man really for. And apart from that, the memories, I don't think, I think there are so many IPL memories as well, especially the 2018 comeback year. I was watching this series on Star, which is known as the Roar of the Lions. It talks about the return of CSK in the IPL. And there they actually show a very emotional Dhoni, which we usually don't see. I mean, that really gives a lot of goosebumps. So, yeah, we all love Dhoni. And yeah, I mean, yes.
Emotional times for everyone. And with that, our time is up on the very first episode of the Bharat Army podcast. Should MS Dhoni play in the T20 World Cup? No real consensus reached here. Maybe you guys can help us with that decision if you reach out to us on the Bharat Army on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at the Bharat Army. Let us know your thoughts. MS Dhoni, should he play in the T20 World Cup? Or just, you know, write a little emotional poem for him. Tell him how much you love him. That's kind of what we've all done at the end of this show. And with that, also, just a quick word to everybody out there in the world. Stay home, stay safe during this time, and we will see you on episode 2. Take care, everyone.